Okay, so I'm just starting my first league match. I've fortunately won the die roll, which is really important in modern. So I will go first. Again, this was Splinter Twin. Well, this is an obvious mulligan, like no mana. Let's just mulligan that. This hand is completely fine. You could add any random seventh card, and I would have kept this anyways. Uh, Here, I think we're going to start with a Serum Visions. Now I'm going to start by using the Misty Ray Force for a basic island, um, simply because I am not certain what I am facing. I don't want to take damage randomly, and I already have my dual land. I decide to use the fetch land here because I want to get the full value of my scry. So I draw Sulphur Falls, which means I don't want this mountain, and I definitely want Snapcaster Mage. It's a good random card to have when I don't know what my opponent's doing. So put those on top and pass the turn. So plains, okay, that's unusual. Basic plains is very rare in modern. So here we're gonna just play Sulphur Falls. There's no need to take damage. It doesn't. And we keep the option open between Remand and Spell Snare that way, although it's very likely we would Spell Snare or 2-drop. Flagstone's a troke here. Okay, I'm not sure what we're facing. I am really not sure at all what we're facing. Sutter Priest. Okay, we can't actually win through this card because of you may have that player lose one life side. So we're just going to Spell Snare this. There we go, Spell Snared. It might have been worth actually playing the Steam Vents tapped, since it was quite likely we were going to only play Spell Snare there. So that was actually probably an error on my part. Thankfully we have the Sulphur Falls anyways to keep our options open between Snapcaster Mage plus Spell Snare or the Seaver Exarch, depending on what happens. I like to, Spectral Procession was quite high on the list. Because we don't have Splinter Twin, I like to basically Remand the Procession. Allows me to also Snapcaster Remand next turn. Okay, I'm starting to think we're just against a version of we're against Martyr, which is Martyr is basically a mono white deck that overloads the board with a bunch of gain 1 life effects. And because of that, it's actually a surprisingly bad matchup for Splinter Twin. A lot of cheap spells, a lot of 1 life effects. It makes it very hard to win. So it's very hard to win with the combo. So I'm already planning for a value game. Here I'm going to play the 2 life, essentially to have access to Cryptic Command. But yeah, we could have saved 2 life earlier by playing the tapped on turn 2, even though it's signals the Spell Snare. If our opponent does nothing, then I want to play Pestermite to start attacking. There's no need to use any of these cards. And if they play Path to Exile, that's fine for us. I'm completely happy if my opponent plays Path here. I'm just going to tap the Flagstones. It doesn't really matter, fundamentally. No, we will not untap it. I mean, yeah, if this gets Pathed, it's not the end of the world. It's not, but yeah, sure. Okay, so by the way, if I had drawn the Splinter Twin, I would definitely not have gone for the combo. It's worth noting our opponent decided not to recast Spectral Procession, so they were definitely respecting the combo. Let's see here. 3 mana end of turn. What did this? Secure the Wastes. Okay, I'm not even sure if this is a problem. Because we have access to the Seaver Exarch. I think Secure the Waste is okay. I'd rather keep my Dispel for something else. I mean, Secure the Waste for 2, like... This is just a really weird version of mono white. Is this Martyr or just tokens? Spectral Procession. Here I'm happy to cast Cryptic Command, countering it and drawing a card. There's not going to be much better for it, and it allows us to cycle through the deck that way. Okay, so we get a Misty Rainforest, which is not going to do much here, but yeah. Take 2 from these warriors. Problem? Yeah. Now, ideally, I want to keep the Snapcaster Mage for the Cryptic Command, since that would be by far the best play. But we'll see how things develop, so just play Misty and attack for 2. Obviously, if we had drawn the Splinter Twin there, it would have been perfect, since our opponent only has 1 Plains. We could have just gone for it with the spell backup, which is actually a really common state of affairs. So let's see what happens here. Now our opponent seems to cast spells pre-combat. Sutter Priest. If I let Sutter Priest resolved, I'm essentially giving up on the combo, which is not great. I mean, we could Snapcaster Spell Snare, but once I do that, I don't have access to anything else. I have access to Snapcaster Crypt. Because we have Lightning Bolt in our deck, I'm okay with Sutter Priest resolving. And I'm okay even with taking 1 damage because it kind of negates itself with the Sea Exarch. So we're going to let this resolve. On turn 2, it was maybe a little more valuable, but now we have more time, and I definitely want to Snapcaster Cryptic. So yeah, here the attack comes, and the Deceiver Exarch should do good work. We're going to lose a life, but it doesn't matter fundamentally. All I want to really do is make sure our opponent has less permanence in play, since they're very likely to play cards like Honor of the Pure to basically pump every creature they have. Yep, so here we're just going to block. And probably fetch a Steam Vents at end of turn. Although our opponent seems I don't think our opponent necessarily... So one thing is, when your opponent plays spells pre-combat, they're either very skilled or not skilled at all. In the sense that you basically, the best way to put it is that you want to play spells pre-combat against a deck like this, because then they don't have mana to play a creature, but in this case, he still attacked into the creature, so it's difficult to say. Let's just play a Scalding Tarn here. Because my plan is to Snapcaster Cryptic, I am not going to attack with the Deceiver Exarch this turn. Although I could, I would rather not in this exact scenario. The option being to attack with the Deceiver Exarch, and if our opponent attacks, to use the Deceiver Exarch, untapping it and killing both creatures. It was my feeling that was not going to happen. And we're more likely to want to Snapcaster Cryptic. Now if our opponent does nothing, that's a little more interesting. Okay, so our opponent does nothing. I'm still not incentivized to play the Deceiver. I don't believe so. Okay, so we're going to fetch and get another Steam Vents at end of turn. There we go. Electrolyze is perfect actually here, since it means that if we have nothing to do, I can just electrolyze both his creatures. Let's see, this would put him to 11. There's no rush. Like, I'm happy to lose 1 damage here, just to keep all my options open. Since after all, if there's a spell I must counter, I can't electrolyze, and I don't want to randomly take what would account for free damage between the Snapcaster coming into play and dealing me 1 and the attack. Archangel Laffoon. That is not something I want to see in play, so we're going to Cryptic. We're going to go ahead and Cryptic that. And again, this is what I mean is, yeah, the Electrolyze is not something I was going to cast this turn. So yeah, Snapcaster Mage is going to resolve. We're going to counter the spell and draw a card. And here you can really see the power of the Snapcaster engine, just allowing you, even though I don't have the combo, I'm still drawing extra cards and digging through my deck, which is making up for drawing a lot of lands. So now, because we don't have access to much else, I'm just going to go ahead and electrolyze both these creatures. Yeah, and here I would have happily wished for a Desolate Lighthouse over Tectonic Edge, but alas, that's not the way. Okay, and now we can attack. It's worth noting it's unlikely this plan is going to end up working out, since if our opponent even has Spectral Procession, we're in trouble. But alas, we do what we do with what we have. We do what we can with what we have. Right. Return to the ranks. Getting back to that's a sorcery as well. Well, once these two come into play, the Seaver Exarch starts being problematic. Let's see, he's at 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's gonna gain 2 life from those coming back. I think it's okay to let those come back. I'd rather, we can still use the Deceiver to surprise our opponent. There we go. Wind Risk Heights. That's the card we want to destroy with Tectonic Edge. But obviously he only has 2 creatures in play, so we don't need to destroy it right now. But I can't imagine what other land he has. Although it's worth noting, Wind Risk Heights needs 3 creatures attacking. So with the current position, there is no need to Tectonic Edge it. We have access to tons of mana as well. So here I'm just going to play a Sulphur Falls. If I draw this Hello Lighthouse, I want to loot this away. I know this could fin the deck, but I like the idea of not losing too much life randomly here. So here we're going to attack with Pestermite and Snapcaster. Snapcaster trades for Sutter Priest. It's not the end of the world. I'm going to attack with the Deceiver as well here. End up putting some pressure and incentivizing my opponent to attack, which seems very basic, but should be fine. Right, so he's happy trading Sutter Priest for Snapcaster, which is not something I can actually believe I just said. But that's how it works. I actually made a mistake not Tectonic Edging this because I had access to a remand. Thankfully, it's not going to punish us too much here, but yeah, we will definitely want to remand it, keep going for the deck, keep trying to draw Snapcaster mages. Soul Warden is fine. He will gain 1 more life, but the upside... Yeah, okay, that's fine. Maybe I was being too greedy. Now the thing is, because he has Archangel of Foon, I definitely want to... yeah, Archangel of Foon is going to make these guys really huge. Let's see here, my opponent's at 7. This is actually tough because let's see. I don't have access to. I only have access to 1 counter spell, and it's not a very good one in Remand. I like just playing Electrolyze here and both drawing a card and getting rid of 2 creatures. Yeah, my opponent's going to gain some life, but that's not the end of the world. Yeah, I'm going down to 9. My opponent's up to 8. And here I am going to use a Misty Rainforest to get a basic island. I'm okay with losing 1 life. I do this before drawing a card, of course. So there we go. Now the problem is that Archangel of Foon is basically going to come down unopposed, and there's little I can do, unfortunately. But I'm just playing the way my hand is designed. Now that said, my opponent is going down to 5, and I can play this Deceiver Exarch I've kept forever to tap down my opponent's Archangel of Foon if he decides to play it. Let's see, my opponent's at 5, so that's going to resolve. And here I'm actually not going to go Deceiver end of turn because he could just path. This way, I guaranteed a win by having by just untapping, and on my turn playing Deceiver Exarch, tapping the Archangel. Now, if he has Path to Exile, I have access to this spell. There's just zero drawback to waiting here. I could have done it at the end of his turn, but then it would be tapped out and he'd have a window. It turns out he didn't have it, I'm pretty sure here, but... Right, so what do you do if you don't know what your opponent's playing? Which is my case here. We're obviously not playing Blood Moon against tons of basic planes, but I like Engineered. See, our opponent's plan is to gain a lot. I like to play the kind of control role, simply because pretty sure our opponent knows we're on Splinter Twin, and with all the gain life creatures, it's unlikely to matter. So I'm going to board out a number of twins. I like Pyroclasm. If I'm in the control role, I'm probably going to end up boarding in Keranos. Let's see. Remand. Remand is kind of awkward. Simply because there are cards that, like Archangel of Foon and Spectral Procession, I really need to counter. But usually those decks tend to have a lot of cheap spells. But what I'll do is probably board in these expensive cards. Let's see, do I want Keranos? He's mono white, so he's not going to have a lot of options. Basically, the question is whether I try to combo kill him or not. But getting rid of Deceiver Exarch / Mastermites would be good, since they're not particularly useful here. Now, my opponent doesn't seem to be attacking into these cards. So let's see. I'm just going to go for the full control plan. Removing... He only has Spectral Procession, so we'll remove these, and we'll keep a Deceiver in 0 twins and basically go late. I think that's an okay plan. Actually, wait, he has Archangel. This might risk going to be pretty good here. We can board out the last Deceiver. So now we're a much more blue-red tempo deck. And I like the position we're in this way. So our game plan is to attack for damage, which I like. Over trying to combo against a deck that clearly is not going to let us do so. We're okay keeping. It's not the best hand, but we have a remand for the Spectral Procession, and Serum Vision will help us get to where we need to get, which is going to be Lightning Bolt, Snapcasters, and yeah, Lightning Bolt. I'm okay not Lightning Bolting right now. I don't like not using fetch lands here, because if there's 2 cards we want on top, it's kind of awkward. But I think it's okay, since probably we're only going to get hit 1 card we want. So we put Steam Vents on the bottom and Electrolyze on the top. That's perfect. If we really had 2 cards we wanted to keep, I would have just played Steam Vents on tap, taken 2, and sucked it up, I guess. Rogue's Passage, okay. Johnny's Pride Mage. Well, we were looking for a Lightning Bolt target. That sums the bill, pretty much. Since this thing is going to get out of hand very, very quickly. So yeah. Sadly, it means we can't remand whatever's going to come out. Although, no, because we're going to cast Lightning Bolt at some point. This is tough. I think here I want to get the basic mountain because I still have free blue sources for Cryptic. And Lightning Bolt the Ajani's Pride Mage. It's kind of a shame, but I can't keep up remand for Spectral Procession, which will be awful if it happens, but I think we have to deal with what's in front of us, and that thing might get huge. The alternative is also to wait and remand something, taking some damage from the Ajani's Pride Mage. But then next turn we're still gonna want to Electrolyze anyway, so I think it's okay to Lightning Bolt here. Maybe incorrect, but I think it's okay. The other alternative would have been to bolt the Soul Warden, but I think that's just wrong. It's like with Electrolyze, it's the best shot we have. And actually here, this is great. Windbreak Heights here is great. Since it basically means we're not... Actually, I'm being silly. The Rogue's Passage meant that we were never going to be worried about Spectral Possession. Return to the ranks of Johnny Pridemate. I guess that works. Okay, well that thing, either this Soul Warden or this Pridemate have to go. So here we definitely want to keep up mana to Electrolyze. Although, this is going to be a little... If this Pridemate gets... And this is a problem with the Splinter Twin deck. Once your opponent's creature gets the 4 toughness, you tend to be in trouble. Tend to. Let's see what our opponent decides to do here. Rest in peace. So that's going to shut down Snapcaster Mage completely. Which is obviously frustrating, but there's not much that can be done about it. So I'm going to allow it, because there's almost nothing I can do about it. Also, I'm not convinced about boarding a card like Rest in Peace against Splinter Twin when you're playing a card like Return to the Ranks yourself. Okay, so just attacks with the Pridemate, of course. We're not going to block here. Now the problem, we definitely need to kill the Soul Warden first. Since any creature I put into play is going to boost the Ajani's Pridemate for the Soul Warden. But our opponent's down to 2 cards, so that's not too bad. So here I'm going to get a basic island again. And Electrolyze, targeting these 2 creatures. So here we're hoping to draw Lightning Bolt. Pyroclasm is okay. Explosives for 2 is actually kind of perfect. Since it deals with all our problems. Yeah, explosives for 2 is very good here. We're gonna actually pay 2 life for that explosives. So Island Mountain, okay. Explosives for 2. Deals with the Ajani's Pridemate. It deals with the Rest in Peace, which is not really problematic, but we might as well get rid of it. And here there's kind of 2 options. I can either activate the Engineered Explosives right away and not take free damage, or I could accept free damage and decline my opponent's options to play any 2-drops here. Since there's not too many 2-drops I care about, I'm okay here with just cracking the explosives for 2 and saving free damage. I don't think there's going to be much. Spectral Procession can get dealt with by Pyroclasm. And turns out, yeah, he did have the Pride Mage, but we could just Clasm that right now. Our opponent has so few cards in hand, it's okay, I think, to do that. I don't like using Pyroclasm actually here, maybe because if our opponent has something like Spectral Procession, I'm just going to Vendilion Clique my opponent on their draw step to make sure that they don't have anything too valuable. It's not a play I'm super a fan of, I'm the biggest fan of, but in this situation it seems pretty about right. I should have thought about that Pyroclasm though. I could easily kill that Pridemate for attacking, like if it attacks through Pestermite, even though he has Rogue's Passage, and I can also start racing. Like him tapping 4 turn for Rogue's Passage is probably not going to end in his favor. So here, have a look at his hand and see what we do. Path to Exile. While Path does deal with Vendilion Clique, the fact that it's an instant might incentivize him to let me untap, especially the fact the land comes to play untapped. I'm okay with this. There's no fret. Basically, what I was checking here was frets. I don't mind Path. Obviously, if he paths here, it's frustrating, but I'm not fussed. It plays his Flagstones. Yeah, this is what most players do. They'll just pass with a card like Path, and he's just gonna get Mullard. Well, we're gonna attack first, since he's gonna not play Path to Exile. I guess he's still worried about the combo. Okay, so we drew another Vendilion Clique, so I'm actually almost incentivized to let the Path resolve. And we are going to leave both on top. So we're going to leave Jace, second and Lightning Bolt first, since Lightning Bolt can kill something. And I can draw it off the remand. If he does nothing, I don't mind. I don't need to play the Jace right away. Soul Warden's fine. Let's see. I could actually play Pestermite first. Tapping down this. It doesn't matter much. I just don't want him gaining a random life, and I definitely am going to play my Pestermite this turn. At this point, I'm actually tempted to just keep the Dispel for a Secure the Wastes, except I've kept both cards on top with Path to Exile, with Serum Visions, so I might still do it, to be fair. Also, I could just ignore the Soul Warden until it becomes relevant. Since I'll have Lightning Bolt in hand, I think that's actually pretty fair. Okay, I'll have Lightning Bolt. I'm actually okay here. If he paths my creature, I might just let it resolve, not get a basic land. And it's something you can do. Path to Exile is a you may search, so there's no particular need to use it. He's just like keeping it for the combo, which I think is wrong. Okay, at this stage, the second Soul Warden. Let me think. Might as well kill the first Soul Warden. There's almost no drawback to doing so. The Remand is probably also not going to do much here. So I could cycle the Remand. But I think because I've seen Archangel of Foon, I'm okay with waiting. He doesn't have 6 white mana, so if you draw Spectral Procession, Remand is actually pretty useful, and I can take it with a Kneeling Click. Let's see, so first thing first, I'm going to attack. And here, I know he has Path, but I'm going to play Jace, because the likelihood of a land is quite high, which turns on Remand. And yeah, it just allows me to have this creature in play already. So we're just gonna minus it. It's very likely the 2-card pile is gonna be the one with the land. Well, that's a Keranos. I don't usually ship Keranos in these kind of situations. The only thing that's going on here is I wanted to stop him from activating those Windbrisk Heights, since that might create problems and give my opponent 2 spells when he had none. He's obviously going to split the piles with Keranos here. Now I can take the, let's see, access to Dispel, so he has to draw literally Spectral Procession. Spell Snare's pretty good. He's at 8. I mean, I have a 3-1 and a 2-1. I'll just choose this pile, to be honest. I know Keranos is very tempting, but I can just deal with what I need to right now. And be ahead. So, yeah, I think this is fine. If he draws Spectral Procession, obviously I'll feel like a genius, but even if he draws something like Sutter Priest or Return to the Ranks, I guess. Like, I'm quite happy about the angle I took here. So we play Sutter Priest. I'm gonna first search a land. That way I'm sure I have the 2 lands I need. It's actually one of the things that's common with fetch lands is you need to make sure you always have access to the mana. So Sutter Priest is not something I'd like to see resolve, so I'm just gonna counter it. Yeah, and at this point, I can dispel the Path to Exile, and I just have to fade a draw step, where I could actually play the Kneeling Click, but we'll see how this goes. Yeah, so he's going to attack Jace, which makes obviously sense, because you don't want me to draw extra cards from it. I mean, I'll just plus Jace next turn, but yeah. My opponent has a Path to Exile in hand, they just never used. Let's see. At this point, I'm incentivized to dispel the Path to Exile. Remand is also there for if there's a really big spell, and like a Secure the Waste, and the spell will just will allow me to deal damage. At this point, I'm pretty far ahead. I just need to... Yeah, my opponent's thinking here whether to use the path or not. I mean, this is the thing, right? When you're playing against a deck like... Now, if my opponent was in an 8, I probably wouldn't dispel here just because the extra line is actually pretty useful and I have a replacement clique. But the ability here to just deal damage is too important and vital for my game plan. I will probably play the replacement Vindiling Clique on my opponent's turn. We'll plus Jace first. Let me think, actually. I'm trying to wonder what spell my opponent could draw that would matter here. Okay, we'll play Steam Vents. Tapped, although... That might have been wrong. There might be a situation where... Yeah, that was wrong. Should have taken 2 life. There are situations where I, like the spell is something I haven't considered. I might need to Vindiling Clique my own man and hope to top deck like a Cryptic. It's very unlikely, but these things can happen. My opponent has just sent me a message, so I'm going to assume they've lost and they're wishing me a good game. And that's it. So yeah, so 1-0 in the league, and yeah, this is what happens usually. Splinter Twin is good against random decks with 1/1s, but yeah. There we go. Thanks for watching this game. And I'll be broadcasting some extra games in the future.